Anna, lately I've been reflecting on how people balance their personal growth with the constant pressure of modern life. Everyone seems to be rushing, yet so many feel stuck at the same time.
I know exactly what you mean, James. It's almost like people are running on a treadmill. Lots of energy, but not much progress. I think that's why so many are drawn to self-development books, online courses, and even podcasts like this one. They're searching for clarity.
That's true, and I wonder if sometimes people confuse being busy with being productive. You can have a full calendar but still feel unfulfilled.
Absolutely. I've seen that with my friends. They're constantly working, but when you ask if they're happy, they hesitate. It makes me realize that success has to be redefined. It's not just about money or titles, it's also about meaning.
Meaning, yes, and also balance. Think about it. If someone is working 70 hours a week but never sees their family, is that really success?
Exactly. That reminds me of a story I read about a CEO who finally stepped down because he realized his children barely knew him. It was a wake-up call. Sometimes the chase blinds us.
That's powerful. It makes me wonder, Anna, do you think technology is helping or hurting us in this balance? On one hand, it gives us flexibility. On the other hand, it keeps us connected to work 24/7.
Good question. I'd say it's both. Technology can be liberating, but only if we control it. If we let it control us, then yes, it becomes a burden. The problem is that most people don't set boundaries.
Right, boundaries. That's something people don't talk about enough. Saying no is a skill, just like learning a language.
True. And actually, that connects to language learning itself. Remember how many students feel guilty when they don't study every single day? Instead of focusing on progress, they beat themselves up.
Oh, yes, I've seen that. They forget that learning is a journey, not a race. You need consistency, but you also need kindness toward yourself.
Exactly. And sometimes rest is part of the process. People think pausing means failure, but often it's the pause that gives you strength to continue.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Rest as part of growth. It's like in music, the silence between notes is what makes the melody powerful.
I love that analogy. Maybe that's what we all need to remember. Growth isn't only about doing more, but also about choosing when to pause.
And maybe, Anna, it's also about reflection, taking time to ask yourself, am I moving in the right direction, or am I just moving?
Yes, reflection is key. Without it, even hard work might be meaningless.
You know what's interesting, Anna? Sometimes people confuse movement with direction. They think that if they're constantly active, they must be heading somewhere meaningful. But that's not always the case.
Exactly. It's like sailing. If the wind is strong, but you don't have a compass, you can go very fast and still end up in the wrong place.
That's such a good metaphor, and I think it applies not only to careers or personal goals, but also to language learning. Many learners consume hundreds of words or grammar rules, but never really practice speaking.
Yes, I've noticed that. They're busy studying English, but not really living in English. There's a big difference between memorizing words and actually being able to use them in a conversation.
I agree. That's why I often tell learners, practice is the real teacher. Books can guide you, apps can help you, but only practice transforms knowledge into skill.
Exactly. And I think the same is true for personal growth. You can read dozens of self-help books, but if you never apply the lessons, your life doesn't change.
That's so true. Action is where transformation happens. But here's the tricky part. Many people are afraid to act because they fear failure.
Right. And that fear of failure is one of the biggest barriers in both language learning and personal growth. People are so worried about making mistakes that they don't even try.
I've been there myself. When I first started learning Spanish, I was terrified of speaking to natives. I kept thinking, what if they laugh at me? But the truth is, most people were supportive, even when I made mistakes.
Exactly. Mistakes are not something to be ashamed of. They're proof that you're learning. Think of a child learning to walk. They fall 100 times, but nobody calls them a failure. Everyone celebrates the small steps.
That's such a powerful reminder. If we could all approach learning like children, curious, fearless, and resilient, we'd make so much more progress.
And happier progress too, because then the process itself becomes enjoyable, not just the results.
Yes, enjoyment is underrated. People forget that joy fuels motivation. If you hate the process, you won't stick with it.
Absolutely. That's why I always encourage learners to choose materials they love, movies, songs, podcasts. If you love what you're engaging with, you'll naturally want to spend more time with it.
Exactly. And that's when learning feels effortless. You're not just studying a language, you're living in it, breathing it.
And that applies to personal growth as well. If you chase goals that don't inspire you, you'll burn out. But if you pursue what excites you, the journey itself feels rewarding.
So maybe the real key to growth, whether in life or language, is not discipline alone, but passion combined with discipline.
I couldn't agree more. Passion lights the fire, and discipline keeps it burning.
You know, Anna, as we're talking about passion and discipline, I realize there's another ingredient we haven't mentioned yet: community.
Oh yes, community is so important. Having people who share your journey makes the process less lonely and more inspiring.
Exactly. Think about language learners. Someone studying alone might give up after a few months. But if they join a group, even an online community, they feel encouraged.
And accountability grows stronger too. If you know someone is waiting for you to show up, you're more likely to stay consistent.
That's right. It's like going to the gym. If you go with a friend, you rarely skip. But if you're alone, excuses come easily.
And in terms of personal growth, community provides perspective. When you hear other people's stories, you realize you're not the only one struggling. That alone can be so healing.
Definitely. Sometimes all you need is to know that you're not alone. That realization can lift a huge weight from your shoulders.
I remember a student who once told me she thought she was the worst English learner in the world. But when she joined a conversation club, she realized everyone was making mistakes. That changed her entire mindset.
That's such a great example. Perfection is such a trap. People think they need to be flawless, but really, progress is what matters.
Yes, and progress is often invisible in the short term. That's why community helps. You can see your growth reflected in others' feedback.
True. And another aspect I've noticed is gratitude. When people focus on what they've achieved instead of what they lack, they stay motivated longer.
Absolutely. Gratitude shifts your perspective. Instead of saying, I only know a little English, you can say, I already know enough English to watch a movie or have a short conversation. That small change is empowering.
Exactly. And that's something people often overlook. Empowerment doesn't come only from big achievements. It comes from celebrating small victories.
Yes, small victories are the building blocks of great success. And when you honor them, you naturally create momentum.
Momentum, passion, discipline, community, gratitude. It sounds like we're creating a formula for growth here.
Maybe we are, but the truth is, everyone's formula will look a little different. What matters is that you find what works for you.
Well said. And that's probably the most important takeaway for our listeners today. Growth is personal. There's no single path, no universal timeline.
Exactly. Some people learn fast, others take more time. Some prefer structure, others thrive in chaos. And all of that is okay.
So maybe the best advice we can give is this: stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and keep moving forward, even if the steps are small.
I love that, because at the end of the day, progress is progress, no matter how slow.
Well, Anna, I think we've had a deep conversation today. Hopefully our listeners can take these insights and apply them in both language learning and life.
Yes, and I hope they also remember to enjoy the journey. After all, growth is not just about reaching a destination. It's about becoming someone new along the way.
Beautifully said. Until next time, let's all keep learning, keep growing, and keep finding meaning beyond words.
Exactly. See you in the next episode.